Hey everyone, it's Karen with Yes Please PaperCrafts, and today I'm in my craft room and I just felt like playing with paper, and so I just randomly grabbed one of my paper pads from my shelf and decided that I would look at it to see how I might want to use this paper pad and maybe play with it a little bit using some mixed media. Okay, so this paper pad that we're going to be looking at is called Treasures. It's from DCWV. And I did pick this up at Tuesday mornings for $4.99. And I do like some of the papers in here, but I have to say this is not my favorite. It's really not my style. And there are some cool papers. There's a lot of things that look textured, like the leather. That paper is really super cool. And let's go ahead and just take a look at this so you can see some of the papers that are in this paper pad. Now I did take one of these papers here and I cut it up and I kind of used it as a cut apart and made some embellishments. So I only have one of these. They have two of each paper in this paper pad. This one here also did cut up some of this as well. I just cut the little tags here and used them on a layout. So I've used this a couple of times just for embellishments. I've not actually used any of the paper for a scrapbook layout. So they have a couple of papers here that are cut aparts, and it does have some specialty treatments. It's like glossy. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's shiny. And that's also probably not one of my favorite things in the world, but it's really a cool retro looking paper. And so they do have two of each one. Now the reason why I decided to pull this one out, and it was the first one I selected, I was looking mainly at the back of the paper. I was looking for a single-sided paper because I have something I want to do using this white paper, and I thought it would be fun to use up some paper maybe that I not necessarily would want to use on a scrapbook layout. So here's some cut aparts. I also love that this paper on the back is super white. Even though the front of it is very distressed looking and has a lot of creams and tans. And some of it's embossed. So some of this paper probably is not going to work for what I want to do. I also like that there's two of each paper because I might like to use one of these papers, but maybe the other one I'm not going to use. And so I thought it would be fun to just tear this paper pad apart and put it with some of my other papers in my craft room, and then take some of the paper and use it for some mixed media backgrounds. So that's what my plan is going to be here. I'm probably going to pick out some of the paper to use with scrapbooking. I might, like say, put one of these green papers in with my green scrapbooking paper by color. I also do have categories like travel. Maybe I might put the map under travel. And I have this one here that has words that is also, I guess could be under travel, but I also have a category for text and words. And so I could put it under that category. The same with this one. And I love paper that has text on it or words. This one's probably not my favorite. I really don't like the colors. I think it's very a strange color. It's kind of orange and green and beige all at the same time. Then we have some keys, and that's embossed as well. It's got that kind of shiny, glossy effect. And there's 2 pages of that one. And then there's these little shapes here, little circles, and there's 2 pages of each one. And I do think the paper's cool, and I would probably use some of it, but I don't think I need all of this to use for scrapbooking. So that's why I think it would be really cool to do something with the back of the paper. And I would say that if you have paper like this where you're not in love with it, but it's a good quality paper, this is super heavy, thick paper, you might be able to just turn it over and use the back. You could use this for backgrounds for layouts, to map your pictures, and you can maybe use it for mixed media, which is what I'm going to be doing. And this is a really cool paper. It's like brick, and it's a really pretty yellow. So this one I would probably put under my backgrounds. I have a category called textures under backgrounds, where I put things like stone and brick and fabric, and so I would probably put it there. I probably would also put this leather paper under the background textures, and that's a really super cool paper. And then the back of this one is actually, you can see that it's embossed because you can see the pattern in the back of the paper. Okay, here's another cut apart. And this one's also embossed. I don't know if you can see the back of this paper has some embossing. Okay, then we have this paper here. This would make a really good background. I think that's really pretty. And we have this orange paper with musical notes. And then there's a red paper with musical notes. And I would probably put this paper with the red and the orange under my colors. Okay, then we have this one. This is really cool. It looks kind of like peeling concrete maybe. And that's super cool. I might put that under textures. And I don't know if I love that enough to keep 2 of these, but I think for sure I could put 1 under textures. Sometimes you need a grungy looking paper to do to go with certain pictures. And so I think it's fun to use things like that. And then there's some more musical notes in an aqua color and some keys. And that's pretty much it for this paper pad. Now for the mixed media that I'm going to be doing, I don't necessarily think that it would work very well on some of the embossed ones, but it might, because you would be able to see the pattern through it. And it might work with this one with the keys, but the ones that have the words and the letters, that one might be a little bit of a challenge, because if you turn it, you know, and it's upside down, you're going to get the reverse of the letters, and so that might look a little strange. Okay, so this is the paper pad. I'm going to be tearing this completely apart, and I guess I could have did that while we were going through. It's actually falling apart already. And so I'm going to put these under cut aparts, and probably one of these I'll put under cut aparts. The other one I'm going to use for background. I'm going to use the reverse side. So anything we're going to use a reverse side for, I'll just put it over here. I think this would be really cool for cut aparts. And I think I could probably, especially the tags, I definitely could use multiples of that one. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull both of those and put them with my cut aparts. I do have a category of paper in my craft room, just cut aparts, and I put all of these types of papers there. And then when I have time and I feel like fussy cutting, I will just grab a bunch of papers from there and I will just cut it up. And so it's a fun activity. I love doing fussy cutting, and I just think it's a lot of fun. So okay, so this paper I'll just probably put with text and word category, and I don't think I need 2 of those, so we'll go ahead and put that over here, one of those over here. This license plate one, I did cut one of these apart already, and so I'm just going to turn that upside down and use that as a background for mixed media. I think this would be really cool as a background for a layout, so I'll probably keep that under my background category. I do have a category called backgrounds, and then under that category I have subcategories. So if it's something that's just a background, I'll put it directly under that category, but I also have textures, wood grains, and other types of things underneath backgrounds that sometimes I'll put it into an even, you know, a more specific category. Okay, for this paper, I'm going to put it in my green, and then I'm going to put one of them over here. And for this one, we'll put this one under travel. And the other one will go there. Okay, I'll put one of these under words and text. And actually, I think I'm going to put both of them because this is an embossed paper. So I don't think it would work really well for a background to use the back side. So we'll go ahead and just put both of those over on that side. Okay, this one, I really just don't like this paper for some reason. So we're just going to put both of those over here. I don't know, there's just something about it. I don't like the color combination. Yeah, I just don't like it. We'll just go with that. Okay, so here's one that has a bunch of keys on it. I think that would be kind of hard to fussy cut. I don't know if I would use this paper in a scrapbook layout. I don't really like it very much, so I think we'll put that one over here as well. We're going to have tons of paper over there to be able to use. Okay, so this one looks like typewriter keys. That's really cool. It has like backspace and shift and margin release. And I think I'll go ahead and put one of those in my category for text and words. And then we'll use the other one as a background. This is a really cool paper. This is very similar to the one that I didn't like, but I like the colors of this much better. It almost looks fall to me. So I might actually put this under my fall. I don't know what the words say though. It's very hard to read. And that might be okay, because sometimes if you have a paper which has words on it, but the words are very hard to read, you could use it for anything because you can't read it. So we'll put one of those under fall, because I think the colors are really pretty for fall. And I'll use the other one on the back here. This will go under my color categories for beige and tan, or cream, whatever color, once I get it with my colors, whatever color it most looks like over there. I'm going to put one of these bricks under my background textures. And then we'll put this one over here. This leather paper is super cool. I think I'm going to be putting both of these under my background category under texture. Okay, this one is another paper that's embossed. And I don't know that that would look really good if you were to do anything with that, because it's got the embossing and all the letters are backwards. But I really don't like this paper very much. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put this with my ugly paper. I have a category called ugly paper, and whenever I have a paper that I don't like, when I'm trying to piece together a layout, I kind of use it so that I can glue paper on top of it. So I'll put that with my ugly paper, and we'll just use it for that. Okay, so I'll put one of these with backgrounds. And then one will go over here. Getting a really good stack. So I'm going to have a lot of paper to play with my mixed media. One of the fun things about this is if I mess up some of these papers, it's not really going to matter because I'm not using very expensive paper here, but it's a very nice weight paper, so that's really good. Okay, so I'll put one of these with orange, and then one will go over here. We'll put one with red. And then this one will go over here. Getting hard to just tear them out. I'm going to put one of these under backgrounds, and then the other one over here. Okay, one of these will go with that color category. I never know what to call this. Is it aqua or teal or a mint green? Those colors are so strange sometimes. I think I'm going to put this one with my ugly paper too. I just don't think I would use that design, so I'm going to put that over here. And it's also embossed. And I don't know, that it might actually look cool to do some kind of embossing technique with that pattern. So maybe I'll try that. I'll put one of those over there. Okay, so I completely eliminated this paper pad from my craft room. So I actually use a system in my craft room where I have tabs on all my paper pads, and on the back there's a number. This is paper pad number 11. And so I'm going to keep this cover until I can take this out of my reference guide. I have to go ahead and eliminate it so that I know that it's used up. Okay. All right, so if y'all want to stick around, I'm going to be playing around with some mixed media, and I'm going to be doing a technique using Distress Oxide inks, but you could also do this with Distress inks. And I think it's a lot of fun. We're not going to be using gesso. It's not going to be a very complicated thing to do. And I think it's a lot of fun just to play with your papers and your inks to try to see if you can, you know, get practice at it. Because I think one of the things that people struggle with mixed media is that you creating a layout, you're spending a lot of time with that layout. And if you try to add mixed media to it, sometimes you mess your layout up, or maybe you don't like what you created. But I think with a lot of things, it takes practice to get good at anything. And so the more that you do it, the better you'll get. So I haven't done mixed media in a long time. I think it's probably, I did a little bit in 2020, but in 2019 and 2018, I did a lot of mixed media. But because I haven't done it in a while, I want to practice with the different techniques. And so I'm going to be just making backgrounds. I'm not going to be scrapbooking with these backgrounds yet. I'm just making the backgrounds and playing with the techniques. And if I find one that I like, I can put that into my stash, and I'm going to put it into a category under backgrounds called mixed media. So I will have all of these mixed media backgrounds that I could use to do a scrapbook layout later, but I'm not worried about messing up my layout or doing something with a layout that I'm working on. And so I think that's a fun way to work with mixed media without investing too much into it. And if you mess it up, it's just a piece of paper. Okay, so if you want to stick around, we're going to be working with the inks and this stack of papers over here and just playing with this. And I'm going to grab my mixed media mat just so I don't mess up my table. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I picked out 3 of my Distress Oxides, and I wanted to start off by talking about color, because I think one of the things that makes you more successful with mixed media is understanding how colors work together. And so the 3 primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. And you might have learned this when you were in school or if you took art classes, but the primary colors are colors that can't be made when you mix other colors together. So they're their primary colors, and so you have red, yellow, blue. And if you take a primary color and you mix it with another primary color, you get a secondary color. And so let's do that. We'll mix together yellow and blue and we get green. If we mix together red and a yellow, or in this case a pink, we'll get an orange. And if we mix together the pink and the blue, we'll get purple. And this is how we come up with our rainbow of colors, and how you can figure out how to put your colors in order so that when you lay these colors down onto your project, they're going to blend really well together. Because if I blend the pink and the orange together, it's going to make a very nice shade. Also the yellow and the orange, because they're complementary, they're next to each other. Those are called complementary colors. Okay, so I'm going to pick out, I think, 5 different colors, or should I do, I think I'll do 5. And what I'm going to be doing is a swiping technique. And we're going to use a little bit of water, but not very much. So one of the other things that you want to be careful of when you're doing mixed media is how much water you're going to use in your project. If you're going to be using just a little bit of water, you can get away with going straight to your paper. But if you're going to be adding a lot of water, you're going to either want to use a watercolor paper or add gesso to your paper before you get started, and that will protect your paper from the water. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick out our 5 colors. I think I would like to maybe go with, I really like the pink, and I want to do a rainbow. So let's go with these 5 colors, and we'll just eliminate the purple for now. Okay, so here's the paper that I'm going to use. This is one of the papers I pulled from the paper pad. I'm just going to flip this over, and we're just going to go ahead and do some swiping. Now, one of the things you can do is just take your ink pad and put it directly to the paper. And I actually tried that a minute ago, and I had some problems. I have not used these Distress inks in a while, and my ink pads were a little dry. And so I went ahead and got this, sorry, that's not it. That's just a sprayer. This is the Distress Refresher, and you can use this to refresh your ink pads to make them a little bit more juicy, so that it makes it a little bit easier to work with. You can use this Distress Refresher. There's also another one called an ink refresher. I can't remember the exact name, but I'll put a picture and the name of it here on the screen. I did hear that Tim Holtz had said this is the exact same product. It's just marketed a little bit differently. This is marketed toward people who use distress products, and the other one is just for all inks, but they're both the same product. And I think it's interesting that this is only 1.9 fluid ounces, and the other one is 4 ounces, which is double the amount, and the price is about the same. So I would definitely recommend buying the other one if you're going to buy one of these products. Okay, the other thing you might try if you don't have either one of these, if you have glycerin in your craft room, give that a try, and you can add some drops of glycerin onto the ink pad and let it set for a little while, and that should also help to refresh your ink. Okay, so I have a really dry ink here, and I just wanted to show y'all how you can tell when your ink is really dry. I'm just going to take this ink, which is the Twisted Citron, and if I try to put it on top of the paper and just pull or drag it down or swipe it, you can see that I don't really get good coverage. There's a lot of streakiness and lines, and so I'm going to go ahead and refresh this, and I wanted to show y'all how easy this is to do. We're just going to take this Distress Refresher, and we're just going to spray about 2 or 3 inches above the ink pad, and you're just going to spray on there until you cover the whole surface of the ink pad. And you need to let that set on there for at least 5 minutes, but I found that it's better if it sits for about 30 minutes. And then you're going to get a better result because your ink pad will be much wetter. It's going to make the ink spread more easily. And so it's just going to be a lot easier to work with. Okay, so if you do refresh your ink pad and it doesn't help, you might have to get the re-inker and re-ink the pad, and you can purchase those whichever brand of ink you have. In this case, this is Distress Oxide. You would want to purchase the same exact brand and color, and then you would just go ahead and put more ink into your ink pad. Okay, so let's go ahead and give this a try. There's a couple of different ways that you can do this technique, and we'll try first just dragging the ink pad on top of the paper here. And sorry about my dogs. Okay, we're just going to take, and you don't really need to press really hard, but you're just going to take some firm pressure and just drag down like that. And then we're going to move on to the next color here, which is that was the Peacock feathers. This is the cracked pistachio. And you can overlap these a little bit. And if you happen to get a little bit of ink on your ink pad from the other one, you can just go ahead and take another scratch piece of paper and just wipe that away and it'll come right off. Okay, so we have that one. The next one is going to be the Fossilized Amber, and I'm just going to take that one and drag it down. And I just think this creates such a cool effect on your paper. Now, one of the things that's really neat is if you wanted to try this technique but use water, you can get some really fantastic blending, but you would need to gesso your paper first and also or use a watercolor paper. But you would do the same technique where you drag the ink down, and then you would take your paper and add water to the top and hold your paper up that and just let it run down. Oh my God, it's so fun to do that. But since you're adding a lot of water, that doesn't work too well with just a plain paper like this without any gesso or watercolor paper. Okay, so here is our next color, which is our spiced marmalade. And I might have to bring in that Seedless preserve because it looks like I'm going to run out of room there. Next one, or I'm going to have extra room. The next one is picked raspberry. And let me go ahead and wipe this here just so I don't get it on my paper where I don't want it to be. One of the other things that's really important about mixed media is having a lot of paper towels. I have a big, huge roll of paper towels there just to help me with cleanup. And I am using a mixed media mat. This is a glass mat from Tim Holtz, and it's Tonic Studios. And this is a really awesome thing to have in your craft room if you'd like mixed media. But if you don't have one of these, you can just use any surface that is porous. I mean non-porous. You want to use something that is like, you could use a cutting mat or any type of glass that you have. Any type of glass mat would work really well. Or even one of those work mats that you can purchase that rolls up. Yeah, there's a lot of different craft mats or mats out there that you can purchase to protect your table when you're doing this type of project. Okay, so we're going to go in with our picked raspberry. That's the most gorgeous color. And that one was really juicy. And you can see I got a little bit of the other color there. I'm just going to wipe that off. And yeah. That's the only bad thing about doing this directly with the ink pads is sometimes you do get the color. I'm going to see if I can maybe just, instead of doing it that way, I'm just going to wipe it here and see if I can get that to come out. Okay. So, yeah, sometimes that does happen. It'll pick up the color next to it. It doesn't ruin your ink pads, though. It does just transfer a little bit of the color over. And eventually you can work that color out. Okay, so the next one we have here is the Seedless Preserve. This is the purple. And I'm just going to go here and drag that one. And you can go over it again if you need to. There's a little bit, it didn't quite get the color that I wanted, so I just pulled it through. And I'm just using kind of the corner of it to pull more of that color in. And then I think what I'll do is go back in with the peacock feathers because it'll be blue, or I could pick a different blue. Okay, so here's my distress oxides that I have. I could do the Mermaid Lagoon. Let's see, that might be pretty. Let's try that one. Now this one I did not refresh, so let me just test this out really quick and see how wet this is. Yeah, that's pretty dry, so maybe I'll just go ahead and refresh this one, and then once this pad gets to be where it's wet, maybe I'll wait like 5 minutes. I'm going to do a couple of different things, so I'll wait and come back to this one in a few minutes. I'm just going to let that set up because I think this color would be really pretty next to that one. But look how gorgeous this paper is. We just created this really fun striped paper, and all we did was use the ink pads directly and just scrape them down the paper, and I just think that's super cool. Okay, so I have another piece of paper, and this next technique that we're going to try is going to involve using some kind of a tool that we can use to scrape the ink, and you can use an old gift card or credit card. I'm going to actually try out this 𝐏𝐚𝐻𝐿 mixed media wedge, and then I also have this mixed media brush. This is a silicone brush from Art Basics from Finnabair, and so you can just use anything that has a straight or flat edge and that is plastic to do this technique. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is to pick out some colors, and I went ahead and did that. I picked out these 4 colors here, and I want to share with you the sample that I did. So sometimes if you're not sure about a color combination, or you just want to try something out, you can do it in a much smaller form. And I just took a piece of scrap paper and I did my technique and played around with it a little bit to kind of figure out what colors I wanted to use. I love these colors that are like blue greens, and so I think it's really pretty. And what we're going to do is I'm going to use these 3 colors for we're going to use these 3 colors for the scraping technique, and then I'm going to use this darker color and a stencil to add this design. Okay, so let's go ahead and give this a try. Okay, so I'm going to start off with this green ink. This is the cracked pistachio, and I'm just going to put some of that on my mat here, and we're going to take this water. This is just a spray bottle, has water in it, and I'm just going to spritz that just a little bit just to make it a little wet. And I'm going to start off by using the credit card, or actually this is a I think it's a membership card for a movie theater, and it was expired, so I have been using that in my craft room. And I'm also using this Tonic Studios Tim Holtz mixed media mat. It's a glass mat, but you could use anything that's non-porous. You could use a stamping block or a stamping platform, or just anything that you have that is non-porous that you can put your ink on. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to take this card, we're just going to dip it into the ink so that you can get ink here, and you're going to take it to the top and just swipe down. It's very similar to using the actual ink pads. But we're not going directly with the ink pads, and it gives a little bit of a different look. And this time I'm not doing a rainbow. I'm just going to go all the way across here with the ink and just kind of spread it out. And it just gives a much softer look, I think. And it's really pretty, a really pretty effect. Oops. And I'm just going to go all the way across here. And you can start in the middle as well, but you might get some lines. But I think that's going to be okay because I'm going to go back with the stencil. And this technique is a little bit easier to do if you have a smaller piece. But you can still do it even with the 12 by 12 paper. And one of the other things we could do is we could flip our paper around and we could start from this end. So let's go ahead and do that. And with mixed media, there's no wrong way to do something. Although some things do turn out better than others. Sometimes I make things and I just wonder what I was thinking. Because I can make things that look like a hot mess. But if you've ever watched Missy Whidden's scrapbook, and I will link Missy Whidden's channel in the description below, she can make some awesome mixed media backgrounds. And sometimes when I'm watching her, I will look at what she's doing and think, what are you doing, Missy? That looks really not so great. And then she goes ahead and keeps working on it, and then she'll add her pictures and her embellishments, and it just looks amazing. So sometimes when you're making a background, you don't really have to worry too much about it, because you are going to be covering a lot of that up with your pictures and your embellishments and just other things. And so don't get too worried about, you know, how it looks, and just go for it. That's what I like to do. So I'm just going to keep layering this on. And this one's going to take a little bit longer than the other one, because I'm going to go in with 3 different colors. Once I've used up all of the ink here, I'm going to go back with those other blue colors. It's going to look really awesome, I think. These colors just make me happy. My favorite color in the whole world is, well, anything that's blue green or green blue. I just love those colors. They just I don't know, there's just something about them that makes me happy. And my craft room is kind of that teal blue color, and I have that all over my craft room, and I just love it. Okay, so let's see if I can get this little bit here, and then we'll go work on the next color. Okay, so I think I got that pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and take a paper towel and just go ahead and wipe that up. And let's go ahead and work on the next color. So the next color that I'm going to work with is this Tumble Glass. It's a very light blue. This is such a pretty color. So we're going to put some of that ink down, and then just spritz a little bit of water. And you don't want much water, because you don't want to make your paper too wet, because if you make your paper too wet, it will warp. And although that your paper might warp a little bit even just doing this, because you are using a little bit of water, but since we're not really using a lot of water, it's not going to warp as much as if you went directly to the paper with something like this with the water. Because we're not using watercolor paper, and I did not put gesso on this paper, and this is just paper from a paper pad, so it's not special paper. It's just, isn't that pretty? I just love that look. It's super cool. Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit more, and then we're gonna turn this around and do the other side. Oh, you know what? I wanted to try using this Vicki Boutin just to see if it made a difference. Let's try this Vicki Boutin wedge tool, and it's I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but it's a mixed media tool, and I think it's made from silicone, just like this is made from silicone, and so it might have a little bit more give than this card. So let's go ahead and flip our paper around. And I'm going to put some more of this ink down. And we'll put some more water. And then I'm going to just use this flat edge here. I think if you were going to use this one, that might be good for, I don't know if it would work really well with the ink, but I know for sure texture paste, that'd be pretty cool to use these ones that have the designs. But I'm just going to use this long flat edge right here. And we're just going to pick up some of the ink. And I think it is making a difference, because it seems like it's dragging it a little bit more. It's also a little bit softer. I don't know, what do y'all think? I think it's making a little bit of a difference. It looks a little bit more soft than what I got over here with these harder lines. So that's super cool. Oops. Don't want my paper to bend. I'm going to put some in the middle here as well. Oops. Okay, and then we're just going to go in with this last color here. I did get a little bit of lines there. My paper is getting a little wet. And it is warping just a little bit, not too bad though. And I think that even if you have paper that warps a little bit, one of the things that you can do is just let it dry and then take a stack of paper or 12 by 12 paper pads and just set it on top of that paper for maybe a day or two, and then it should flatten it out. So you can always, you know, try to take your mixed media piece and flatten it by putting stacks of heavy things on top. Okay, so we're going to do the last color here, and then we're going to do the stencil. And so I'm hoping this comes out because I really love these colors. Okay, so we're going to use the peacock feathers. I'm just going to put some of that ink on there. And I have to say, it really did help using that ink refresher. I haven't used my distress inks in a while, and they were pretty dry, but using that ink refresher really did help. Okay, so let's try this brush. This is the mixed media brush from Bear, and let's just give this one a try. Oh, that's pretty. It's not, doesn't seem like it's wanting to come off the brush as much, but maybe that's because my paper is wet. Let's give this a try. Now, one thing you could do is you could just let it dry in between the different layers. If the paper is getting too wet, you could just go ahead and let that dry a little bit. But since I'm filming the video, I'm just gonna go for it. And if I get a little warping in my paper, I will just stack some stuff on top of it. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a little bit on this side, and then we shall do the stencil. And now I'm wondering, when I was doing my sample, if I actually use this color, because I might have used this color with my stencil. No, it is the darker color. I might not have used this color at all because it is a little darker than what I did my my sample there. But you know, things just when you're doing mixed media, it's really hard to get it to come out the same way every time. You just kind of have to go with it. Sometimes you get really awesome results. Sometimes it's just okay, and other times it's a hot mess. But if you're going to be laying pictures and other things on top, a lot of times it doesn't matter if you have areas that you don't like, because a lot of this is going to get covered up. Okay, so that's super cool. Let's go ahead and try the stencil technique. I have these stencils. These are from Tim Holtz, and this is the manila tags. I don't know if it's a particular one, it doesn't say, but it's this really pretty floral and then the swirly one. So we're just going to go with this one that has the swirls. I think that's really pretty. It's very elegant looking. And just go ahead and clean this off real quick, and then we're going to use another ink, and we're going to use a stencil brush. You could use a blending tool or a stencil brush. I'm actually going to use a makeup brush. This was a set of brushes. I did get these from Amazon, and if I can find these, I'll put a link in the description below. I think it came in a pack of 8 because I have some smaller ones, but I like using these because I just find them easier to use than the blending tools. I also have some of the blending tools as well. So these, like this one here, but I just prefer doing this for this technique. Sometimes I like to use the blending tools. It just depends on what I'm working on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get one. I think this is the one I used already, and we're going to use the Mermaid Lagoon. Okay, and I'm just going to put the ink here. Now I could actually take the brush and put it right onto the ink pad, but I find that sometimes it goes a little bit faster if I put the ink here and then just add just a little bit of water. Then it kind of makes it go a little bit faster because it spreads a little bit easier. And I'm just going to go and get some of this ink on my brush, and we're going to just pounce that around through this stencil. And I love using stencils. It's really a lot of fun. The most fun part about using a stencil is when you lift it off the paper and you get to see the pretty design that it left behind. Oh, that's just gorgeous. Don't y'all love that? So pretty. Okay, so I'm going to try to line this up. Now this stencil really doesn't have a way to, as far as I can tell, a pattern that I can follow, and it really is for tags, but I'm just going to go ahead and use it for this 12 by 12 scrapbooking layout, and I think it's going to work okay. So we're just going to keep doing this, and I think I might fast forward through this and speed this up a little bit because this might take me a little while to do, and then I will be right back. Okay, so I just love how this came out. It's just, I just love the color. So super pretty, and I think this is going to make a really pretty paper to use for scrapbooking. So if you notice, as I was laying the stencil down, I was actually hitting the edge of the stencil with my brush and creating some lines. And so as I'm going through and working with this, I'm trying to stay within the stencil and not go over the edge of the stencil, because that was kind of creating some hard lines. But at the same time, those lines kind of look cool because with the dragging technique with the ink, where we were scraping the ink on, it kind of had that effect of having streaky lines. So I think in this case it was okay and it worked out, but I did try as much as I could to avoid getting these really harsh lines. The other thing is at the very end, I went around with my brush and I just brushed the edge of the paper with the darker ink, the one that I used with the stencil, just to make the edge look more finished, because there were places there that didn't have any ink. It was very white. So I think that in the end this came out so beautiful, and I thought it would be fun to try one more thing, and that I'm going to do with this smaller sample, because I don't want to mess up my 12 by 12 if I decide I don't like what I'm about to do. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this little sample, and I want to add some gold splatters. And you can take any metallic spray that you have and try this. You could also use a white. It's really pretty if you do white on top of this as well. So let me go ahead and grab my Heidi Swap color sign, and we'll add some splatters here and see how that looks. Okay, so I have this Heidi Swap color shine. I did find a little set of this at Tuesday Mornings last year, and so that was super exciting. It actually might have been 2019, but I've been hoarding this. And I just have to shake it up until you hear that ball rolling around in there. And then we're just going to take the entire top off and just take the end of this and just kind of dab it onto the paper here. And see if we can get some bigger dots. I think that's so pretty. I do like it, but I'm thinking that I might just stick with what I did for my 12 by 12 paper. And I think it makes it a little bit too busy because of the template I used on the top. I think maybe I might not do it with this larger piece of paper. Sometimes the Heidi Swap color shine or things like this, the splatters, can look really, really pretty. And especially when you're using mixed media in a way where you have a lot of water, either you're using watercolor paper or you're using paper covered with gesso and you're putting a lot of water and the inks are running around. Doing splatters and using products like this can be really cool. But I'm actually not loving it here because I have so much pattern with the stencil that I used. But I still think it's pretty. It's not dry yet. It will dry a little bit brighter. I don't know if you can see. Some of them have already dried. And then others, it's still a little wet, these larger spots. But it will dry and it will be very shiny. I just think the Heidi Swap color shine is just so pretty. And I think they have a couple other ones that are very similar. Jen Hadfield, I think, has one. And I'm not really sure, but there's quite a few of these metallic gold sprays that you can get. And I just think they're super pretty to add to your project. Okay, so let me go ahead and wipe this off real quick. And I did actually finish my rainbow paper, and I lost some of my video footage, so I don't really have that to show you, but I can show you the finished paper. And I wanted to go ahead and just show y'all the finished pages that I did. So we have this 12 by 12 paper with all the blues and greens, and then I have this rainbow paper here that I did, and I think that's super cool. And I have a layout that I'm going to share with you that I use this exact same technique, and I created a layout, and I'll share that up on the screen here as well. And then I also have this one, and I wanted to share this with you because I'm not necessarily in love with this. It's okay, it's super cool looking, but it didn't really come out the way I wanted it to. And I kind of think it looks like a hot mess. So, I just wanted to show you that sometimes when you're doing mixed media, it doesn't always come out the way you intend. And I think one of the important things to think about when you're doing mixed media, though, is that the more you do it and the more you work with all of the products, the more you're going to know how it's going to come out when you start applying them in different ways. This was my first time using the scraping technique with taking the ink off of here with the credit card, and I also used some bubble wrap and a stencil, and was just messing around with the different techniques. And so I'm not really sure. I think it might have been a really cool page had I picked different colors, but I think that maybe my color choices were not the best. And that happens sometimes, but I wanted to share that with you just so you can see that sometimes you can get really cool papers and you know, things that maybe you like a little bit better, and then other times you can get things like this. And this might still make a really cool scrapbooking layout. I think once you were to lay some pictures and things on top, it would cover up a lot of this. Let's just say if I was to take and cover a lot of this up, you can see that it's still super cool. And I would be able to use this maybe as a mat underneath the layout, or as a background. And yeah, so I think it's still cool. It's just that it's probably not, you know, what I was going for when I created it. I really like the part up here at the top a little bit more than I do the part down here at the bottom. And, you know, you could always just go ahead and even just cut this part off and use that on a layout. And then use this part at the bottom to cut out flowers or shapes with punches or dies. So you don't have to use the paper as a background. You could also use it to layer underneath your photos as photo mats, as backgrounds, or as paper that you can use, you know, to cut out things. So I love mixed media, and I'm really excited about doing more of it in 2021. And getting some more practice, because I'm way out of practice with doing this. I hadn't done it in so long, and so I think it's going to be a lot of fun also to see my progress along the way through this year. Okay, so that's all I have. I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, because it helps me to know what types of videos y'all like to watch. It also helps YouTube to know which types of videos to recommend to other people. And I have a short video clip of my two dogs, Bella and LilyBelle, that I will put at the end of this video if y'all want to stick around for that. And if you would like to see more videos, please subscribe. I would love to have you join my channel. And that's all I have. So y'all take care, have an awesome day, and hope to see you next time. Bye now. Hi LilyBelle, did we get a delivery? Is that your new dog food? We got Chewies. Chewy.com. What you think, Miss Bella? That one's for LilyBelle. It's her new diet prescription food. Yep. You had to order it. Yeah, I hope you like it. You're going to start eating that tonight. Yep. So Bella's going to be eating the other one, which used to be LilyBelle's prescription diet. And LilyBelle's getting a new prescription diet. Yep. Yep, you're both on special diets. Yep, LilyBelle is, she's on the kidney. It's a kidney food for special needs dogs that has kidney problems. And Bella's on one for her gallbladder. That's a low fat, low protein. I think it's the gastrointestinal one. Yeah, she's not happy. You gonna check it out? You want me to open it up so you can see what it looks like? I can open it up. Y'all can give it a taste test. You want to taste test the new food? Yep, let's do that. Okay, so we got it open. Y'all want to give it a try? Okay, this is the Prescription Diet Kidney Care. This one's the food for LilyBelle. But Bella, you can have some too, and we'll just give it a try. Okay, y'all come here. Let LilyBelle try it first since it's her food. You want to give it a try? Okay. I think they like it. Okay. When they get a new food, it's like having treats because they're not familiar with it, so they're like, ooh, treat time. Say treat time. Yay. Okay, can you sit? Okay, here you go. Is it yummy? Do you like it? Say, we're not picky. We'll eat anything. We'll eat anything. Okay, here you go. Okay, I think they like the new food. All right, one more, okay? It's really small food. It's kind of tiny. Good for tiny dogs. Yep. Okay, that's all for now. Do you like it? I think Bella likes it. She's even doing tricks. Okay, we'll give you one more. All right, here we go. I think they like it. Okay, so can y'all say hi to the YouTube people? Can you say hi? No? Okay, well that's all we have. Y'all take care. Have an awesome day. And we'll see you next time. Bye now.